Once in a small town nestled between mist-covered mountains, there lived three individuals who seemed cursed by fate. They were known to everyone as the unlucky trio, and no matter how hard they tried, good fortune always eluded them. First, there was Margaret, a baker whose breads were always too tough or too burnt, despite following her grandmother's secret recipes to the letter. Her cakes collapsed before they could even make it to the counter, and customers always left shaking their heads, muttering about how it just wasn't her day. Then there was Samuel, the mechanic, whose hands always seemed to slip at the wrong moment. His wrenches would fall into the engine bay at the very second he needed them, or worse, the car would start making strange noises right after he'd fixed it, leading customers to demand a refund. No matter how hard he worked or how much he studied, his tools always seemed to betray him. And finally, there was Clara, the seamstress, whose threads were always tangled, no matter how carefully she threaded the needle. Even though she spent hours making dresses, they would either turn out too tight or too loose. If she tried to mend a tear, it would always create a larger hole. It wasn't just their professions that seemed cursed. Their personal lives were equally unlucky. Margaret's longtime love, Jack, had promised to marry her, but every time they planned the wedding, something unexpected happened. First, the venue was flooded, then her dress got ruined, and finally, Jack disappeared one fateful evening, leaving nothing but a letter behind. Samuel's attempts at romance were equally disastrous. Every time he met someone, he'd either spill coffee on them or, worse, his car would break down in the middle of the date. The worst incident was when he accidentally ruined his date's favorite jacket by getting grease all over it. Clara's story was much the same. She spent years sewing beautiful dresses for brides-to-be, only for each of them to call off their weddings at the last minute. Her own relationships had all ended in tragedy. Her fiancé had tragically passed away during a hiking accident, and since then she had closed herself off to love. It seemed as though the universe was determined to test their resilience by throwing every possible misfortune in their way. The townspeople often whispered about the unlucky trio, not out of malice, but out of sympathy. Everyone in the village had their own misfortunes, but none so constant and seemingly random as those of Margaret, Samuel, and Clara. They had tried every trick, prayers, lucky charms, and even sacrifices, but nothing seemed to break their streak of bad luck. They had become a symbol of perseverance, for despite everything, they never gave up on their crafts or on life itself. One fateful evening during the town's annual festival, something miraculous happened. Margaret, as usual, had baked a batch of cakes for the event, expecting them to be rejected as usual. But for reasons unknown, this batch was perfect, soft, sweet, and golden. Samuel had arrived late, but his car miraculously started with no issues, and the date he'd planned went off without a hitch. Clara, too, had mended a tear in a dress for the mayor's daughter, and it was flawless. As the festival continued, the three stood together, realizing for the first time that maybe luck had been with them after all, just in ways they hadn't expected. For once, they weren't the unlucky trio. They were the symbol of resilience, of enduring despite life's hardships. Their bad luck had made them stronger, and in that moment, they understood that fortune wasn't always about success, but about continuing to try, even when the world seemed to be against you. That night, they celebrated not just their good fortune, but their unwavering spirit, knowing that sometimes the greatest luck was simply to keep going.